Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for today's session. My name is Elena, and I'm one of the MBA recruitment executives on the Oxford MBA. And today I'm delighted to host a Laidlaw Scholarship information session. And I'm joined by a few of our MBA students and alumni that are current and previous Laidlaw scholars. And I can't wait to go into the panel discussion with them. But for the next, I would say 10 to 15 minutes, I'll just go over the scholarship, the process of applying, and just some of the benefits that come with being a Laidlaw scholar. The session is being recorded, so if you weren't able to join us, you will be able to see a recording sent out later on, just so you can refer back to it in case you have any questions. If you do have questions and you were able to join the session with us, feel free to use the Q&A function that is now live during the entire duration of the webinar. Hopefully at the end, we will have some time for questions. If not, please email us directly at oxfordmba@sbs.ox.ac.uk, and we can answer any questions that you might have. Please know that this is not a webinar regarding the application requirements for the MBA program. So it's just an information session on the Laidlaw Scholarship specifically. So if you do have questions about the application process, feel free also to send us a quick email and we will be happy to respond. I just wanted to start with a quote from Susanna, the CEO of the Laidlaw Foundation. And I would say there are two important aspects to take out from her quote. And the first aspect is obviously extraordinary women. The scholarship is aimed at women in particular. And the second aspect that I would say it's equally important is who would not otherwise be able to afford an MBA. So I would say that's the highlight of the scholarship, one of the highlights that they are trying to offer an amazing opportunity to women that would not be able to even think about an MBA and then afford an MBA. That obviously we know is a really expensive investment. And so through the scholarship, and the Laidlaw Foundation is working in partnership with us and with a few other business schools actually to be able to give you that opportunity. And so don't feel discouraged about potentially not being able to fund your own MBA or even apply for the MBA. You will be able to see that through the scholarship. You might have this option in the near future. So obviously what the purpose of the Laidlaw Scholarship is, there's a few different purposes and I would love to go through them, and also in terms of how to apply for the scholarship. So like I said, the scholarship is definitely aimed at women who are extraordinary leaders or have the potential to become extraordinary leaders, and obviously to enable them to break into leadership post MBA in their future career. And it's really interesting to see how the scholarship actually started, and I will encourage you to check the Laidlaw website, the Laidlaw Foundation website, just to see everything that they're working on, what the initiative and the foundation is working on. And the purpose of the scholarship actually as well is really interesting, and how it all started. So the founder of the scholarship is Lord Laidlaw, and he described how he's worked with many, many women in his own organization as well. And it was just as a consequence of that work and how amazing it can be to have a gender balanced organization. And this is how the scholarship started, essentially to enable women and extraordinary women to break into leadership. And hopefully with the scholarship, many more can do that. And we've seen there are numerous research completed on just organizations in general, and we can see that really successful businesses are gender balanced. And the program that we have as well, the Oxford MBA, is quite gender balanced, and we were able to hit gender parity in one of our previous cohorts. So that's something that we are very proud of, and obviously this could not have been possible without the Laidlaw Foundation and the Laidlaw Scholarships as well. So the Laidlaw Scholarship has been running for 5 years, and it's offered with other schools as well internationally. So globally, you'll see quite a few of them are offering the Laidlaw Scholarship. It started with Said Business School in 2021. And on the slide, you'll see a picture of our current cohort of Laidlaw scholars, and you will be able to hear from a couple of them today, actually. And like I said earlier, it is aimed at encouraging those who wouldn't have otherwise taken an MBA. And I'm sure you will be able to hear from our panel soon in terms of how they worked on their application, and how they were also successful in receiving a scholarship in their application and interview process. I can't wait to hear from them about that. In terms of the scholarship details specifically, we also have a dedicated page on our website that you will be able to see many details about the scholarship in terms of the criteria that's required to apply, how many of those we give out every year, the eligibility selection criteria, the particular deadline we have for the scholarship, and just a lot more information when it comes to the scholarship in particular. Obviously, the scholarships that we have with Laidlaw range from half to full award, so you are able to get either half of the tuition fee or full award, so that covers your entire tuition fee, obviously for the year that you are applying to. An important criteria, of course, is looking at female leadership potential, your commitment to gender equality, leading ethically, and paying it forward. So the scholarship committee will be looking at any sort of work you've done in this area, whether you've already been working in, let's say, gender equality issues, and hopefully looking to do the same post-MBA. The scholarship committee will also be looking at your academic excellence, and there are a few different ways in which you can highlight that. So they will be looking at your undergraduate degree, your GMAT or your GRE score, any other extracurriculars that you have completed during your university, any prizes, any awards, anything that you've done that can showcase academic excellence. Of course, any other degrees that you were able to complete, perhaps if you already have a master's degree, or any other degrees or courses that you were able to complete that can show academic excellence. And so the scholarship committee will have a look at that. Obviously, your undergraduate degree and your GMAT or your GRE test are mandatory components of your application, so don't necessarily feel discouraged if you don't necessarily have achieved, let's say, the minimum requirement that we are looking for. Actually, there is no minimum requirement. So even if you don't have, let's say, the 2.1 degree or a really competitive GMAT or GRE score, that shouldn't necessarily discourage you from applying. You can always try to balance one of those elements out with the other. And so, for example, if your undergraduate degree GPA is not necessarily that strong, then you can try to aim for a high GMAT or GRE score just to even those out. And so, the requirements we give out are just for your reference. They're not necessarily hard requirements. And so you can always try to work around them to find a way to balance them out if possible. All Laidlaw scholars will be members of Reuben College. So that comes with being a scholar on the MBA. And we actually have a dedicated webinar coming up when it comes to just how to build a competitive application, what is a college, how you get into a college, and I will encourage you to maybe sign up for that as well. You'll be hearing from us just with the entire application process. The last criteria or the last requirement for the scholarship will be for you to demonstrate financial need in your application. That's obviously based on applicants who might not otherwise be able to afford or even consider an Oxford MBA. And in the application, you will be able to give us more information about your household income, and we'll have a few questions and dedicated guidance as well in terms of how you can complete that section in the application. How to apply? So the application is included in your MBA application, and that's something that's actually really important. So you must submit a complete MBA application and the Laidlaw Scholarship application form together at the same time for you to be considered. So both of those have to be sent in at the same time by our January deadline, which is 7th of January, and that's our fourth stage deadline that we have in the cycle. Applications are currently open, so we have opened applications on 1st of August, and our first deadline is coming up on September 1st, so it's around the corner. But you have to submit both of those at the same time. So even if you decide to apply earlier than January, let's say in our round 2 deadline, your MBA application and your essay, your Laidlaw application form have to be submitted at the same time. Obviously, because the scholarship is aimed at women in particular, the scholarship application form will only be visible in the application to female candidates only. Like I said, the scholarship application will include a financial need assessment and an essay section, and you have to complete both of those in order to be considered. And like I said, there is guidance in the application that will help you with how to complete it. Every stage that we have, the scholarship committee will be reviewing all the applications, and every applicant that submits their Laidlaw scholarship application will receive an update on the status of their scholarship application and whether they have been shortlisted. Very shortly after the admissions decisions have been made. So it's really important you apply early if you can for both the scholarship and for the MBA, just so you can give yourself time and to prepare for a potential interview that you might have. So there are different shortlisting stages, with the final shortlisting process hoping to take place in March, and you will be required to attend an interview in around April, May. So that is going to take a bit longer from when you have submitted your application to the moment you actually interview for the scholarship. So we do let you know whether you have been successful in being shortlisted, and you will know based on that decision how to move forward with your MBA application and with any potential other scholarship applications that you might have completed. I have also included an email address where you can reach out to. You will see it at the bottom of the slide. So any questions that you might have about the scholarship process in terms of how to apply, anything in particular, you are able to email this address. It will sit with our student funding team. So please feel free to use that for any specific questions that you might have. In terms of the benefits that you get as a Laidlaw scholar, you will also be able to see that in more detail on our website as well and on the Laidlaw Foundation website. Obviously, as a scholar, you get lifelong access to a growing network. Like I said, multiple business schools worldwide are members of this network, and obviously that's growing every year. And so the scholars also come from different industries. So you'll obviously get access to scholars from different business schools, but also from different industries. You'll be joining us for an annual dinner, obviously with Laidlaw Foundation representatives, with faculty from Said Business School, previous scholars. And every year we have different events, different scholars events that we organize as well at the school, different breakfast events, different dinner and lunch events that you'll be invited to. And you are invited as well to attend the annual Elevate conference that's run by the Laidlaw Foundation every year, and the annual Equal conference that's run by London Business School every year. And so you are able to attend all the events that you are invited to. And like I said in the beginning, your access to this network is lifelong. So even after you graduate from the MBA, you will still benefit from the same resources, the same network as you've joined when you started your MBA. So that's one of the most exciting aspects. In the picture on the slide, you will see the inaugural cohort from 2022 with Lord Laidlaw. And you will be hearing from Asha actually today as well. She was part of the inaugural class. I will play just a quick video and hoping that you can hear it. If not, please turn your volume up and I will do the same. It's just a quick overview of the Laidlaw Scholarships. I hope you enjoy.
I've always known that I wanted to study at Oxford, but it just felt like one of those far-fetched dreams that you have at the back of your mind that like would never come true.
I'm a single mum and I was working 2 jobs. Life was really, really full on. How am I going to move countries? How am I going to manage a full-time MBA?
I saw that there was a new scholarship being launched specifically for women leaders. The description was you need to have a passion to empower women and have a dream to perhaps become an executive somewhere. And I was like, that sounds like me.
The Laidlaw Scholarship it's empowerment, right? The scholarship empowers women like me who ordinarily couldn't have afforded an education like this one to help us come here and achieve every dream you have in your mind that you thought was impossible.
Without these types of opportunities and the opportunities to not have to worry about funding and focus on your education, I wouldn't be here.
It really gave me like network seems like the wrong term, like really like a sisterhood of women.
50% of the world is female, and if men continue to occupy positions of power and making decisions on behalf of women, we will never reach a society where problems are solved properly.
You need more women at the top, right? And the truth is there's certain things that help you rise to the top. And one of that, honestly, is a business degree like this one.
The Oxford MBA actually has one of the highest women participation rates of all MBAs. And I think the scholarship helps to do that.
Recently, Laidlaw launched a fund for the scholars. It's a £50 million fund, and it invests in businesses started by the scholars.
I think that is amazing because across the globe, women struggle to get funding from banks for business ventures they'd want to start.
The MBA here is the perfect combination of business and impact. It doesn't talk about business in isolation. It talks about how it has a bigger role to play in society.
Being able to represent myself, my family, my country, my continent, and help other people come up and do the same thing. And that is really the essence of the scholarship, to make people know that they can do things like this, because they've seen people like me.
The first thing that we usually do is disqualify ourselves because we think, oh my gosh, it's Oxford, I will never make it in there. Try it, apply, take a leap of faith.
Imposter syndrome is something that affects a lot of people, but I would say that, believe in yourself, go for it, and just put your best foot forward.
Great. So you've seen, you've heard from actually some of our previous Laidlaw scholars, and hopefully at the end you were able to see that we've included a link to the dedicated scholarship page we have on the website. And like I said, you can always reach out if you have any questions. But I'm happy to now go into the panel discussion, and I'll just ask our panelists to turn their camera and their microphone on. And we can start with introductions.
I can go first. Hi, everyone. My name's Asha. As Alina mentioned, I was part of the inaugural batch of Laidlaw Scholars at Side Business School. It was such an incredible experience, the MBA, as well as being part of the sisterhood. And we took that video. It came out so well. I was so nervous for it. I don't know if I can say anything smarter than I said on the video, but really happy to be here. I run a social enterprise called Swara, where we work with rural women artisans. We connect them to the market. And recently, we also started doing experiential tourism. We started an ethical leadership program with Laidlaw Foundation, where we offer a 6 weeks leadership program for undergrad students in Kerala, where students from top universities in UK, US come to Kerala and spend 6 weeks working with women artisans in clusters where our fashion brand sources products from. So that's basically what I do.
Thank you, Asha. Who wants to go next?
I can go next. Oh, no. Okay.
No, that's fine. Just go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shruti. I am from the batch of 22-23. Yeah, well, very grateful to be here and part of the Laidlaw community. So before the MBA, I ran a food and beverage e-commerce marketplace that worked with farmers to help them launch and grow their food brands. And I sold that startup during the MBA. And now I am a decarbonization consultant. I manage growth and expansion for a carbon emissions assessment SaaS platform that works with fashion and textile companies. So my job is to figure out, okay, how do we build that product and get them to the likes of brands that currently we work with H&M, Decathlon, etc. So yeah, that's what I do.
Thank you. Maya, you wanted to go?
Hi, everyone. My name is Maya. I'm from the 24-25 batch. I'm also a Laidlaw Scholar, which I think I was so fortunate to be. I have 5 years of consulting experience. I've been working in policy consulting strategy at Deloitte. I'm originally from Israel. My focus before my MBA was to basically help Arab graduates secure opportunities in the Israeli job market. So I've been working with foundation to help graduates secure jobs in leading firm, basically mentorship, closing gaps of like language gap, cultural gaps, any other things. So this was let's see, my main reason to kind of get an MBA is to be able to make like let's say a bigger impact after my degree, and basically work more in my leadership skills that I think Laidlaw had played a major part in this. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Natasha?
Hi, everyone. I'm Natasha, and like Maya, I'm part of the current cohort, currently wrapping up this year's MBA. I'm originally from South Africa, and I'm a chartered accountant, and my background has been in advisory and consulting, focusing mainly on finance strategy and finance transformation. And why I wanted to do the MBA is to just facilitate a pivot into impact investing. And Saeed was the best place for that, to just learn more about the impact space. But also one of my passions is really empowering women. And as part of the work that I did before, I mentored a lot of aspiring female chartered accountants, especially with helping them through their board exams and preparing them for the qualification exams. Really happy to be here to share the experience from the MBA and by being a Laidlaw Scholar.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I wanted to start with a few questions. We already have a few coming from the audience as well, so hopefully we will have the time to answer them. But I wanted to ask you, just looking at your experience and you applying for the MBA and for the scholarship, what sort of advice would you have to someone that's considering applying for the scholarship? And based on your experience, what do you think made your application successful, perhaps? Who would like to start?
I can go ahead.
Sure.
So one thing that the story I like to share with everyone, because I think it's very uplifting. So I actually applied to Laidlaw twice. Okay, I applied the first time and I got rejected. And I'd applied to school in that year as well, and I got rejected there as well. And then the next year I applied and I got both of them. Okay. So what's important is, and what I learned in this process is that your story can remain the same, but your positioning can change widely, right? Depending on how what the thread of your narrative looks like. And that can make a big impact in your application. So my top advice for everyone applying is figure out to your core what the base narrative of your application is. Does it have a common thread across your core MBA application and Laidlaw both? And do you have enough time to do justice to both? Because if you don't, I mean, I know Elena said that apply as soon as possible, but I would say if you don't have enough time, round 2 or round 3, no problem. But give it time. I would always consider Laidlaw application as important as the core MBA. So if I spent 1.5 months doing my MBA application, I did 1.5 months doing my Laidlaw application, like parallelly, but I gave them enough time.
Thank you. Really good advice.
Yeah, I think just to also add to that, I think my advice would be not to overthink it. It's so easy to look at the requirements and then basically cut yourself out and think, oh, I haven't done all of these things. If something catches your eye and you think you are who they're describing, go for it. I also attended the same webinar when I was looking at applying, and one of the panelists said, you could also talk to other people and women in your network and like friends, just to find out what is this thing that I'm doing that you can see as uplifting other women. And it could be like a small thing. And when you look at it, you would think that it doesn't actually, it's not a big thing. It doesn't matter. It won't be looked at as an impressive thing in your application, but it speaks to the narrative. It speaks to the authenticity of who you are and what you've been doing. So one is don't overthink it. And I think 2 is be authentic. And like Shruti said, actually give it time. I've met a lot of current female students who said, oh, I wish I'd applied to Laidlaw, but by the time that I did my application and realized that I needed to write another essay, they were just very tired with the essay process. So it's important, if you know that you want to apply for the Laidlaw Scholarship, give it time as well, as much time as you would the MBA application, because the essays can be exhausting in a good way, because you are pouring your narrative out, you are actually wanting to write it and make sure that the story comes out properly. So you also want to give this application the same time.
Absolutely. Would anyone like to add anything to that?
I just want to say that, the committee doesn't expect you to be like trying to save the world or anything. Like it's more like as how passionate you are of making an impact, like around the people around you, even starting with your community, even if we're talking about small change. It's just showing that your uniqueness or whatever struggles you have been going through, you really use this as a fuel to really help other people going through the same stuff. So it's more about, don't overthink it. Exactly. Be yourself. Just talk about wherever you have been through, how you use this to make an impact and change others' life. And I think it's only the fact that you're passionate about leadership, you're passionate about making the world a better place in the future. Yeah, that's
Perfect. Thank you. I also wanted to learn from you, I guess in your own perspectives and times where you were in the MBA, what sort of benefits you have as a Laidlaw scholar on the Oxford MBA and at Oxford in general?
I can go first for this one. I think number one is the community. You have like a ready-made, strong women's community, close-knit community of Laidlaw scholars, and the MBA can be a bit overwhelming because my batch had like 355 students. So it's a lot of people and very strong personalities, and it helps having like a family sort of space to exist in the Laidlaw network. Then I think the second thing is Laidlaw does, Elena, I'm not sure if you're the coordinator this year, But in our batch, we had Christopher, who made sure that like we're taken care of. He would reach out from like the admin side in the school, and we had a dinner with Lord Laidlaw. So great exposure. I also got invited to the Ruli dinner, which is like an event where they bring a lot of cool people, like one of the inventors of the Pfizer vaccine was there. So I got to meet her. So it really gives you a platform, even in a crowded space like the MBA, with where you can express yourself, meet cool people, things like that. So it's like a added advantage on top of Oxford. That is the year that you spend at Oxford. Once you leave, then the Laidlaw Network has like annual events, which brings scholars from like different schools together. Even during the MBA, we had Women's Day conference at LBS, which is great, going to the school, meeting Laidlaw scholars there, or like students at LBS seeing the school. Great experience. And after the MBA, like I said, the annual dinner, and for one of the dinners, I got to meet the CEO, Susanna, and just over dinner, we chatted about my organization, Swara, and she proposed this idea that we should do leadership programs for their undergrad students. So it's really, the network is really magical. They really place a lot of trust in you, and like they really believe in you, and they want you to succeed even beyond giving you the funding to do the MBA. It's not, they don't see this as like a financial aid. They see this as investing in future leaders. And adding to Maya and Natasha and Shruti's point, be authentic. Definitely share like anything that makes you stand out or shows that you care about the world, and you're going to make use of this MBA. That's what they want to see. More than like what you have done, they're betting on your potential to do more with what you're given. Why you deserve this space over other people who have applied for the scholarship. So yeah, that's something. So if you haven't done like really impressive, if you don't think you've done really impressive thing, that's okay. You have the passion to do things with this MBA. Do you have that fire? That's what they're looking for. Yeah.
Thank you, Asha. Would anyone else like to add?
I can go next. I'm sure Natasha and Maya can add more about, you know, how the community and the scholarship helps them during the MBA. I can share what I think was the most beneficial aspect for me. It allowed me to do the MBA, which was a transformative experience for me. It was a liberating year through and through, in a way that when I graduate, I have no financial burden on me. It is the simplest and the most powerful asset you can have, as you know. So think of it this way, that you're doing the MBA for a year. In this year, you're going to make a lot of choices. And every time you have to make a choice, like, you know, do I go for this conference versus apply for a job? Do I take this class or take this extra thing that I want to do with the Oxford School of Geography, let's say, which is outside the Said Business School? I do ABC because I need to, you know, recruit. Every job, every choice that you make, if you have a financial burden at the end of the MBA, that premise is going to weigh on your choice. So just the fact that Laidlaw allowed me to graduate without a loan or a significant financial expense on my shoulders, for me, was liberating through and through. I made choices, I took paths that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to. This is beyond the fact that I wouldn't have been able to afford the MBA anyway, right? So this, I mean, I can't emphasize this enough. For anyone thinking, do I apply, do I not, do I have the time? If I were to pick one, I'd rather just get the MBA and not apply for the scholarship. Think it through. It matters a ton.
Thank you, Shruti.
Yeah, I think the other benefit that I would add to what Asha and Shruti also mentioned is exposure. The scholarship gives you exposure to the MBA program leadership through events and dinners. I mean, there's 350 students. Not everyone is able to actually be on a first name basis and with MBA program leadership, but because of the events that that are hosted for Laidlaw scholars, we end up having like a closer relationship. And so it's that exposure is so beneficial, even exposure to Reuben College leadership. The president of Reuben College was also at the Laidlaw dinner. There were specific events that were organized specifically for Laidlaw scholars at Reuben College, or if there's an event, we would also get special invitations as Laidlaw scholars sitting with like the distinguished guests. So that exposure to like that wider network, and it's a network that you probably wouldn't think, oh, I need this, but it happens organically through just being a Laidlaw scholar. And I think that's something that has been really, really beneficial throughout this year on top of the community.
Absolutely, thank you. Actually, speaking of Reuben College, I wanted to learn from you, how was your experience with Reuben College and also your scholarship interview process as well? How did you find that, for anyone that's watching and that is considering applying and perhaps worried about the interview and the shortlisting process?
Okay, I can go first.
Yes.
So let's discuss first the application and the interview process. I think the application is basically, I think you already took a look at it. It's not that complicated to apply, as long as you have your GMAT score, as long as you have, your vision, your story, you know who you are, you know how to to describe like your journey, what made you think of an MBA. It's very let's say simple. About I think you meant the Laidlaw interview, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So about the Laidlaw interview, I think my interview actually was a bit humbling. I remember the day that I was interviewed by a committee of 4 people, and I a bit shocked first, but then but then I remembered, I was like, okay, I went through all of this, and now I have these things just to kind of not only show the committee that I deserve to have a full funding, but also to show myself that I'm actually that passionate about getting this degree, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to do this. So I think that basically what we discussed before, it's mainly having a story, mainly knowing how to say why you don't think you can afford an MBA, how you can use this funding to actually make a good in this world. Because the whole thing of a Laidlaw scholarship is basically they're trying to keep the world innovative, they're trying to make the world a better place. You can check all of their programs. That's not their first its first funding. So I think you have to be more aligned with the values of Laidlaw and to be able to know like what kind of let's say passionate value and ambition they're looking for. This is about this. About Rubens, I would think, and I will kind of support what they said before, the whole thing of having a community with you. It's like having a small family that you are all aware of each other's, like, let's say, struggles and stuff. And I would say one more thing, that it's not also the Ruben and the exposure to like the leadership of the MBA. I think it's more about the exposure of like outside of the same business school. I remember the day, and it's like say the main highlight of the Laidlaw when we went to the Women's Woman of the Future Awards in London. It was inspiring. It was like this is rooms that you will not be able to get into if you're not part of the Laidlaw Scholar. We met a lot of inspiring people. We have been there to cheer for one of the previous Laidlaw Scholars. And I think this is the exposure we're talking about. The kind of network that you will be able to achieve if you're part of the Laidlaw Scholarship. So I think the whole process of the application and the interview, you will completely forget about that as long as you get to the point when you actually recognize the benefits of the scholarship.
Yeah,
Definitely. Thank you. Yes, please.
I think the interview I would summarize to say is probably what they're trying to do is to see if this person that they've written about is the same person that is in front of them. So does your story translate authentically from writing to you talking about it? So I would then say that like the initial thing I said around authenticity is again very, very important. The panel is not trying to catch you out. They're just trying to get to know you, try to flesh out maybe some of the things that you couldn't write, or because you don't have enough space to write your entire life, but they really just want to get to know you. What is your passion towards women? How are you going to use this MBA to further propel that passion and to keep doing more around that passion? Then I think just on Reuben College, Reuben is one of the, if not the newest college at Oxford. So I think this year is the first year really that they moved into the building, and there were dinners and lunches that were hosted in the building. And there's benefit to that because since it's a new college, the college is also trying to come up with like new traditions and new ways of building community, which I found was so beneficial because, for example, they held cultural nights. So we had cultural dinners from like a Latin America night. When it was Eid, there was an Eid dinner, which created an opportunity for us as well as the Laidlaw scholars to invite our classmates to say, come, let's go to Reuben. There's a cultural night. Reuben also does like lunches, and the lunches are good. So come, let's go to Reuben, let's have lunch. It was a way for us to build a further community with our classmates and also with people that are also just part of the college. There's also a thing that Reuben does, it's called Dining with Dinosaurs. Every single Tuesday, there's a dinner that you are just talking about random topics. It could be a topic in medicine, a topic in AI, but you've got people from every discipline coming to do this case study and to have this engagement and discussion. And it's such a way to meet other people that are outside of the MBA, because I think the big thing is when you're in the MBA, it's so easy to get consumed with Said and MBA stuff, but the college gives you that chance to meet other people and immerse yourself in other disciplines as well.
Thank you, Natasha. So obviously looking at, the criteria for the scholarship and just the details that I've shared earlier on, leading ethically, paying it forward, and commitment to gender equality are all, specifics and characteristics of the scholarship. And I wanted to ask, how did you show that you align with that in your application, and how do you think you were able to show that and showcase that about yourself when you considered the scholarship and then when you applied for the scholarship? How did you do that, looking at your professional careers as well and your education?
Yeah, mine was pretty straightforward because the enterprise that I was running was focused on women empowerment. We created income opportunities for women artisans. So it was pretty straightforward. But maybe Shruti, Natasha, and Maya, you can speak a bit about yours.
So there are multiple ways you can demonstrate that. And I'm sure, see, if you're going to have a fitment with what Laidlaw is looking for in terms of values, you're going to be living those values one way or the other, right? That's all that we have to talk about. So, for example, yes, there was an element in my work that impacted the women in the farmer communities we worked with. But also, I think I mostly focused my essay on the fact that I started my entrepreneurship journey in hydroponics, a very new field, but also a field where, again, I didn't see many women, right? So it was a double whammy. And how now that as a woman, as I became a leader in that field in my country, and then created a bigger food and beverage startup, how do I see my role as a woman in this space to sort of lead the path for other women in the future. I think for me, that was important. So smaller nitty-gritties there. So I didn't say things like, I mean, you can, but your essay doesn't have to be focused on things like, okay, hey, I'm going to hire more women or something in my team. If your business makes sense in that perspective, sure. But it was more about like, okay, I, let's say, contribute in my D2C F&B founders community. As a woman taking up that space, what does that mean? Right? It changes perceptions, it changes how people approach me, it changes how I approach people. I think it's about the fact that when you introspect on how you're living those values, what does that mean in your day-to-day life? You can even mention those things.
Thank you. Maya or Natasha, did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so I think my approach for my essays was to look at, I focus on the problems facing women that I had seen, and then also did something to address, and specifically chartered accountants. So in South Africa, there's a shortage of chartered accountants that are female, and even worse a shortage when you look at Black females. And I saw that from university. So from university, I had been mentoring, I had been tutoring, helping other aspiring females to become chartered accountants. So that was my focus, to say everywhere in my life, I'd always looked at where are women underrepresented, and if there's something that I could do if there was something I could do about it, I did it. And so the chartered accountant piece was just a part of the evidence that I put in. And then I did a further on look to say, what am I doing currently in my career? What am I thinking I can do continuously after the MBA to continue this thing around fighting for just that gap to be narrowed? So I think, again, it's just what is your passion when it comes to women? Is there anything you've done about it? Are you going to continue doing anything about it? And then, sorry, I know people are also just worried again, like about like GRE scores and GMAT scores. I would say don't overthink that again, because you're already applying for the MBA itself, right? And that is a criteria, the GMAT score and the GRE score. And I think when the MBA admissions team also talks about how they look at your entire application, I think it's the same for the scholarships team. So if you are applying with that same GMAT and GRE score, don't be worried now that that same GMAT or GRE score is not going to stack up for the scholarship. Go for it.
Yes, exactly. There were a couple of questions just in terms of the scores, but you have to remember exactly you have to take those tests to apply for the MBA anyway. So you don't necessarily have to focus on them for the scholarship in particular, because anyway, you want your score to be competitive. First of all, to be admitted, and then second of all, to perhaps look at funding and perhaps even the Laidlaw Scholarship in particular. So you're right, Natasha, this is good advice. There was actually another question just in terms of your time management skills and how you managed and how you currently manage for the current students we have. Just the MBA and how rigorous can be alongside everything that requires you to be a Laidlaw scholar. So all the events you might get invited to, all the work you do in the background. How did you balance both of those when it comes to finding the time to essentially do everything, or as much as you can do at least?
Okay, I can take this one. So basically, when you start your MBA, you recognize that you will never have enough time for everything. So there is places that you're gonna miss, events that you're not gonna be in, and you have to every day to take a decision about like what is your priorities, where you have to be. So when I started my MBA and I had all of this Laidlaw events that I have to go to, and then there's social events, and then school, and we have been also having OBN's event that you'll recognize in a minute, and I've also was part of the Women Leadership Alliance at SBS. So I think my idea was to be able to be everywhere, and then I recognized that I'm getting exhausted, and this is not how it's gonna work. So I think you have to be really clear about what you're trying to get out of the MBA. So first of all, like set your priorities, like really understand what you're trying to get out of this. If it's like social and you want to have like a social experience, you might want to prioritize this. If you're trying to be more academically, you want to learn more about, I don't know, maybe AI. So maybe prioritize being in AI OBN and work on that. So I think first of all, prioritize your priorities. Second, I think put Laidlaw as one of your priorities, because I think that the main thing about this is you're getting here an advantage. You have a privilege to be a Laidlaw scholar. You have to understand what this means, because this means you're having responsibility around the community you're in, having responsibility about what you want to take forward, because you have to pay this forward after SBS. You have to show that out of this MBA you actually did something. So going to Laidlaw events, getting to know people there, it must be one of your priorities. But don't like cuff yourself up with all of the things you're gonna have around. Just make sure you're clear about what's your priorities, what you have to do, and what kind of events you want to be in. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think just remember you're here to get a degree, you're here to study. There's a lot that is happening in Oxford and in the MBA. So that prioritization that Maya mentioned, I can't overstress it, but your first priority is to actually getting this degree. So it's important to understand your timetable, which classes you need to do pre-readings and even post-readings for, and have everything else work around that. Like, I think if there's something that is coming above you actually going to class, you actually are doing what you need to do to prepare for like your assessments and things like that, then that probably should be a second priority. So priority number one should be your classes, and then everything else you can individually look at what your priorities are based on what you would like to get out of the MBA. Otherwise, you will be pulled into many different directions if you do not prioritize.
Very true. Thank you. There is a specific question here, and I believe Shruti was looking to answer that just in terms of the actual application for the scholarship and the financial assessment that's required as part of the application, and what sort of documents you can provide to, provide more details about your household income and essentially show that you are in need of the scholarship to fund for your MBA. So Shruti, I believe you wanted to answer that just in terms of what you've done, maybe. Yeah.
Actually, I get this question a lot, and I think it's supremely vital to the application, because as you said, there are two main criteria to the Laidlaw application, right? One, that you're a woman, and second, that you would otherwise not be able to afford the MBA. So I think where a lot of people struggle is that they try and, I don't know, maybe it's intuitive that they're not very direct with sharing their financial information on the application. So sometimes they keep it abstract, or they say things like, without the scholarship, it would be difficult for me to attend the MBA. That's very different from saying, without the scholarship, I cannot attend the MBA, right? That's an important difference. And that has to reflect, if it's true, in the financial information you share in the application. So for example, when I applied for Laidlaw, I was very clear. This is how much I make. This is how much I have in savings. The money that I make from my startup is put back into the startup for ABC reasons. And hence, this is the only amount that I have currently to contribute towards the MBA. And I do not think this will be enough, or even give me, any chance at being like comfortable to do the MBA properly if I were to do it somehow, right? So in that short real estate, I was able to take into account all the different sort of outcomes I had with the financial means I had at that stage, and was able to very clearly demonstrate that without the scholarship, I cannot ideally afford the MBA, right? I think that's very important. And I don't know, Elena, if things have changed with the Laidlaw application, but so far what I know until last year, I don't think we need to attach any documents.
Perfect. Thank you. I think we are at time, unfortunately. So I just wanted to ask our panelists if they have any final words, any final advice that they would like to share with our audience. We did manage to answer quite a few questions, and for everyone that didn't get their question answered, like I said earlier, feel free please to email us. I'll include our email in the chat function here in a second. But yeah, I just wanted to ask our panelists if anyone has any final words, any sort of advice for anyone that's looking to apply for the scholarship in the upcoming deadline.
Yeah, don't hold yourself back. Be definitely, if you're planning to apply, bring your A game, show off, like definitely talk about all your achievements, and why you're going to change the world and why you deserve to be part of the Laidlaw community. And yeah, it really helped me, like the reading what Laidlaw was talking about, understanding the language before I applied. We didn't have an interview round, but like for me, Laidlaw, the scholarship seemed like made for me. That was like different, but definitely, I would say to anyone applying, definitely read what they're up to as a foundation. They have a lot of things going on. See like what direction they are going in. I would say like they're looking for creating like future leaders who is going to support the whole community and take everyone forward. So they're betting on you. So show them why they should. Awesome. All the best.
I can add to what Asha said. I think someone also asked about how they identify leaders. I think they're looking for how you think. So for example, if you're talking about your work and you're saying, this is how I saw, this is the problem I'm solving, they want to also in bits and pieces see why is this problem important, right? How does your solution fit into the problem? Which sort of for me overlaps with Skoll as well. So I see the whole application writing journey as very intuitive and reflective. And also like a lot of the questions that we touched upon are, I get year on year. This is my third time doing a Laidlaw webinar. So if anyone wants to get it, just email me or text me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to share it. And if Asha is saying that their year they did not have the interview, that means my year was the first one to have the interview. And I'd say that in terms of questions, it was, I know that maybe, this is for the later run, but I think if you want to know, the questions are similar to what they ask in the MBA, plus a little bit more on your work, which I think overlaps with Skoll, plus a little bit more on, paying it forward or working on gender equity, etc. So yeah, all the best. Definitely give it a shot. If you can't make it to R1, make it to R2. If you can't make it to R2, make it to R3. Graduating the MBA with no financial burden is the best choice I made, and I wish you can make it too. So all the best. And also, sorry, one more thing. The Laidlaw community is your best asset when you're applying. Reach out to me, reach out to everyone on the panel to get your applications reviewed, to ask for feedback, to get insights. Yeah, make it personal. Okay.
Yes, don't give in to imposter syndrome. If you've thought about applying, just do it. And like Shruti said, use the community, use your community of friends to like bounce ideas off of them, reach out to us. There are many incoming Laidlaw scholars, for example, that I've spoken to, who've just reached out, and everyone's always happy to like assist you. There were many from the past that I reached out to that helped me. So yes, back yourself, don't give in to imposter syndrome, and use your community.
I just want to say good luck to everyone. I would say just apply if you feel like you actually want to do this MBA and it's going to add to your life. And basically, I think everyone deserves to go through this experience. Just do it. If you don't take this risk, none of us are going to be here if we didn't take the risk at that time. So just do it. If you need anything, you have our names. I think you can search us on LinkedIn. We would love to support you. Yeah, good luck.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your useful advice. We did manage to answer many questions. Again, for everyone that didn't get their question answered, you can see that I've included the email address for our team. We'll be more than happy to answer any questions. You can always reach out to our current students and our alumni on LinkedIn with any questions that you might have about the scholarship, about the application process in general. Thank you to everyone in the audience. Thank you for staying until the end of the webinar. And like I said, we will send the recording out in the coming weeks. Hope you have a great rest of your day or your afternoon, and we look forward to seeing you at our next event. Thank you so much, everyone, again, and take care. And best of luck.
Thank you so much.
All the
Thank you,
best.
Elena, for organizing it. All the best.
Thank you.
Bye.